Welcome to New Providence Every 15 Minutes documentary. John Pelham and I are going to be interviewing various members of the Every 15 Minutes team and the community of New Providence who all work tirelessly to make this program what it is. So we hope you enjoy it. I first got involved in the Every 15 Minutes program. A good friend of mine, Tracy Beckerman, was the one who found the program and brought it to New Providence.
I'm Tracy Beckerman. I was the chairperson for the Municipal Alliance to Prevent Drug and Alcohol Abuse for New Providence, New Jersey. And we were looking for something to do to make an impact on the kids. Something that wasn't necessarily classroom oriented, because we'd done that. We did the DARE program with them, and I know that the kids at that age, it was perfect for them. They wanted to please. They heard drugs and alcohol are bad, and so they believed it. But by the time they got to high school, they needed a different message, and they needed it delivered in a different way. But I didn't know what that was. And then Lori May, who was working with Overlook Hospital, came to me and she said, we have this thing called Every 15 Minutes, this program. And it's a graphic representation of what could happen if kids are drinking and driving. And she showed me a video of a program that had been done in another school, and I saw this and I immediately knew this was the right thing for New Providence.
She asked me to direct it, and she hired a film crew, and we had some students involved. And I didn't realize what it would be. We filmed everything, and she hired an outside editing firm to edit the thing together. And we went to the guy's house to bring him the film. All the footage, and he was in bed, sleeping. And we were like, are you kidding me? And he was like, what? He's like, you really wanted this by 8 o'clock in the morning? You were kidding. We're like, no, we wanted it by 8 o'clock in the morning. So we had a scramble, and we didn't have it ready for that next morning. But then, for the next time we did, that was 2010, the first one we did. The next one we did in 2013, I got my friend Pat McDonald, who's my partner. We make films together for our church.
Myself and Joe Narciso, we were working on videos together, and he had already done one of the Every 15 Minutes at New Providence.
I thought of Pat, and I was like, wow, he's a sucker. He would do this for me. But yeah.
Yeah, he was a sucker, yeah.
Everybody sort of jumped at it and was like, yeah, this sounds great. And I was like, oh, this sounds really big. And so my reaction was, I was hesitant at first. It was like, that sounds like a lot of moving parts. But, everybody in the alliance is like, everybody picks up a piece and they run with it. And so it sort of boiled down to, I was just taking care of the school end of things with the students and sort of making sure we had all the facilities in place the day of and that sort of thing. And so it was a much more manageable thing, but it took that first one for me to be like, oh my God, this is going to be a lot to do,
It was a daunting project. So it was kind of one of those things where you have to know your town. And I knew that our town was going to step up because they always do. They love our kids. And I'm going to get a little bit emotional talking about this because the way that everybody participated in this so wholeheartedly and without any kind of reservation, because they knew that, or they hoped that this was going to make an impact on the kids.
Every 15 Minutes has been hands down the most impactful program we've ever done on the Alliance. From when we first started it sounded like a good idea. Didn't really understand what impact it would have, but it sounded good. And then to be part of it, to see the kids' reaction to it.
When we went under the tarp, I started crying immediately, like real tears.
And to hear stories after it of the long-standing impact that it had after the event. That's something that doesn't happen on the other events we do.
I was in the car that got hit by the drunk driver. So I was in the back seat. It was me, and then there was 2 girls next to me, and then 2 people, 1 person driving, and then someone in the front seat. And in my role, I was supposed to be one of the ones that when we got to the hospital, I passed away. And it felt very real because my parents were there and they made it seem very real, and they were very emotional during it. And I remember my friends telling me, because they set it up on like a street where the accident is like filmed, and my friends were like, my best friend since second grade, her name's Jordan, she was like literally watching it all happen, and she's like, I couldn't even like keep my emotions together because it felt like the whole accident was real. I still remember it like it was yesterday. Going into college, I was just always so cautious and always making sure my friend's getting home safe. It just like I just take it with me, even now.
And even after the fact, I spoke with a number of students. I've always done that. There's particular students that were involved in some capacity, and then those that just witnessed it, that were just spectators as part of the program.
So how did you feel today about, one, your parents today? They're acting.
It got me. It hit me, for sure. It made it feel very, very real.
Very real, right?
Yeah.
And how did you feel just going through the process today?
I can't even explain. It's just it's something that I never feel like I could relate to, because I know I wouldn't make those decisions, but being in that like situation and having all of it like be so realistic, it really makes you realize like what it's like to make dumb decisions or decisions like that.
You've done a lot of these. Why do you keep coming back to do everything in 15 minutes a week?
Most importantly, I think, and because I had the opportunity to speak to 25, 30, 17, 18-year-olds, it gives me the opportunity to really explain to them the seriousness of drinking and driving. And I don't have that opportunity. I see people after they've committed the offense.
If it impacts, in one person, we're better off than we were before. And I certainly am appreciative as a building principal. These are my kids. I have 3 kids at home, but these are my kids at the school too. And you worry, and when they leave your doors, we're trying to equip them with the skills to make good decisions.
We did that right before we all went down the shore for after prom. It was good, it was on top of people's minds. People were thinking about that. Everybody wanted to be safe. Everybody wanted to be careful. The year I was involved, I was a dead body that was through the windshield of a car. So there was a scene in the first program where they took everyone to the courthouse. All the parents of the victims went, and they were asked to make speeches. And my mom made a speech. It was all acting, but she wrote the speech, and it was real. And she really loved the program. It really made an impact on her. And the next year, she began to start volunteering for the program.
Right, she was a great woman.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm gonna cry just thinking about her.
Yeah. No, she was great. And, it's funny. It just, it really just resonated with her. My mom didn't drink either. And, she really just loved it. She was so involved. She was a big part of the next time they did the video and did the program, and she just really loved it. It was all she talked about in her final years.
Marie was so touched by the project that she got involved in the Alliance.
The next year, yeah.
And then she became the president of the Alliance.
Yeah.
The coordinator, whatever it is. And then Marie tragically died in a car crash on the Garden State Parkway.
Yeah, and the weird part of that story is that I drove by her accident. I saw it on the parkway before I knew who was involved or what have you. I was coming home from Tom River from my parents' house, and it was very icy, very snowy, and we were in traffic for I want to say an hour plus. And when we got up to the point of the accident, I could see that there was a car flipped over off to the side of the parkway, and it was an awful accident. And I was like, oh my God, that accident looks awful. And my wife always does sort of this own personal moment of silence as we drive by any accident, right? And she did her personal moment of silence, and I was like, oh, that was terrible. And we got home, and either that night or the next day, the principal at the time, Lauren Zerbley, called me, and she said, hey, did you hear the news? And I said, what news? And she said, Marie McNally died in a car accident. I said, oh my God, that's awful. I said, when? She goes, just last night on the parkway, right, and she kind of gave where it was. I said, holy God, I drove right by that last night. I said, I saw the accident, and it was I was so devastated at that moment, because it was just such a surreal and weird moment, right? She got involved in our alliance on this simulated accident thing, and then And then I drove right by it, like, and then my brain took a snapshot of that, and I'll never forget what it looked like, and it was just awful.
It was just bad weather and an icy road, and she just sort of veered off on the highway and slammed into a tree.
And she was awesome, right? She was the mom doing the mom part at the time when we weren't telling the parents, and so she did it. Like, she came through. She was like, "Yep, I'll do it." Like, she had no idea what she was walking into that day, and then she had to all of a sudden like pretend her kid died, and she was great. And she always joked afterwards with me about how like we sort of duped her. You know what I mean? Like, it's because I had no idea what I was stepping into, and I was like, "You were awesome." And but she joined up like right away and stayed with for years afterwards. So she was awesome. I miss her. She was great.
As a parent, how can you explain, or can you explain the impact that it has on parents?
Having an impact now. If you any kid that you see, especially if it's your own, you still think of your kid in that situation. And you don't have to act. See any kid in that situation. It's horrible. And this stimulation, when you're going through it, you're always thinking, God help to seven my kid. I'm so happy they're all over 20. They're all over 20 and grown now. Good, at least they're out of the house and they're not affected by high school drinking. And hopefully we've raised them well enough, particularly through this program too, that they've made the right life choices to this point. You really can't help it.
Right.
You gotta get that out. I feel better.
I tend to think that maybe not so much the courtroom aspect does, but if they see the actual aftermath of a auto accident and the consequences of it, I think that would have a greater impact. You hope that it sinks in what we're saying here, but I don't know if it does. But I would really, at least it gives me the opportunity to make that effort.
I wanted to say that in doing this documentary, we've spoke to a few prior students that were involved in this, and they're obviously out of high school, some are in college or out of college. They said that this still rings true and has a deep effect with them. So it does. So what you all are doing does impact them.
At that age, you think you're invincible. You think it's not going to happen to me. And, it's so important to see, for kids to see that, not only can this happen to you, it can happen to your friends, it can happen to people you love. And not only can it happen to them, but it affects them.
So, this was senior year of college. So November of 2020. My best friend from college texted me that her friend passed away. And it was the night before Thanksgiving. So this was on Thanksgiving Day when she texted me. We were just having a normal conversation, and then out of the blue, she texted me that he died. He was at one of his friend's birthday parties, and he decided he wanted to go home. And I guess they were offering to drive him, and he was very stubborn, I guess. And he ended up driving himself, and he drove off the road and ran into a tree, and he died at the scene. So that was definitely hard after everything I went through with every 15 minutes, like having that, and then actually having it happen to one of my best friends. To this day, it still affects us. We have these sweatshirts that actually say, like, text me when you get home, because he never texted anyone when he got home because he didn't make it home. This is the sweatshirt. This is on the back. It says, text me when you get home.
All we can hope is that it makes enough of an impression on them that when the time comes, when they're about to take the keys, when they've had too much to drink, that somebody will say to them, hey, you remember that thing that we just saw? You remember that every 15 minutes program? Don't do it, man. It's not worth it.
I think we mutually both love how it affects the students. If it just affects one child and they decide not to drive drunk, we've done our job.
And there was a kid at the prom weekend down on the Jersey Shore who got into a fight with somebody, and they were drinking, and the kid took his keys. He was gonna go home, and the other kids grabbed his keys, and they're like, "You're not driving home. That's what we just experienced every 15 minutes. You think he would let you drive?" So if we just saved that kid's life, it's been worth it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Pat and I were shooting these videos for New Providence and other towns, and we got really lucky. We met this guy named John Pelham, who is a brilliant filmmaker in his own right, and we were able to convince him to come on the team. And then when Pat stepped away for his
Sabbatical?
Yeah, sabbatical, yeah. John took over, and it was seamless with how well he fit in with the team.
New Providence is one of the towns that I really, really enjoy. How the faculty, the alliance members, the production team, how we are like one. Yeah, the synergy is just beautiful.
It is probably the closest thing I've ever seen, in my career, of how close it hits home as far as the accuracy and the feeling and the chaos, and it's just, yeah. And to be able to reconstruct that for people to see, and the ability to put that, on the big screen for everybody to see, and just and I think it's also the production value, right? So you produce it with music and the angles. It's unbelievable. Everybody that goes online and watches these videos or during the assembly, you can hear a pin drop, because it really brings up that raw emotions, and for officers, it's as real as it gets.
Yeah, and it's fun knowing the families, because I get to say the families of the kids are in the early years of high school. I can't wait to kill your kid in every 15 minutes. Especially the kids I know, I'm like, yeah, he's gonna die.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna die.
She looks like a drunk driver to me.
Our very first drunk driver, at least the one I worked on, she really got into it, shockingly so, like crying her eyes out on the spot.
When you see cars hitting each other, well, see cars in an accident scene, and you see kids screaming, and you see kids with blood on them. And the kids we've gotten have been all great actors. They've sold it.
Stay with us, please. Oh my god, Caitlin.
That really helps make it seem real.
Shout out to the students that get involved in this. They are amazing. They're not actors or actresses, but some of them.
Yeah. And it's fun for me with the kids who just want to get a day off from school.
Yeah.
And then they get involved. We start filming, and they're like laser focused, and they're all, they'll take it so seriously.
Yeah.
It's really great to have them.
Yeah. I give a lot of credit to the students and the parents, because it's not easy to play dead and then act like your child is dead, and
the parents are always like, no, I can't do that, I'll cry. We're like, that's what we want. That's what we want you to cry.
I probably was involved since 2010 with every program that they've ran since 2010. So I got to see a number of different reactions, and they're pretty much all the same, right? It starts out where the kids are just intrigued, what's involved here. Then you start out with the Walking Dead, and they're walking around and they can't talk to their friends, and they got makeup on, and they're very, it's very somber. And then once that tarp gets pulled off that accident scene, forget it.
That first time we did it, and we pulled the tarp off the cars on the scene, we had hundreds of students sitting there talking. I mean, it's hard to keep kids quiet. You got hundreds of students sitting on the grass, and they're all talking. And when we pulled the tarp off, you could hear a pin drop. I think that really makes an impact on the kids. They see their friends, they see an accident, they see what could happen, and then the emergency vehicles coming make it feel real.
I remember it was a lot of laughing and talking, and then as soon as they unveiled the scene, it was like jaws dropped, everyone was silent, and we saw people crying. A lot of people were very upset, parents, teachers. It was just, it was a disturbing thing to see. I was dating my wife at the time. She went to high school with me too, and I couldn't even tell her what was going on. So she had no idea what role I played in it. And, she knew I was going to be in the program, but she had no idea what the program consisted of. And, we were just kind of worried that it wouldn't resonate. And then it did. People were upset when they saw, the scene unveil, right? They were upset when I fully looked dead. I looked like there was gore. It was crazy, crazy makeup.
It's this moment where we get to sort of like pretend what it would feel like without having to like watch an actual tragedy, right? Which is why we all watch the news every night, right? Because it's just filled with tragedy, and that's what makes us turn the TV on. And this is like, here's a moment where we can just kind of play act for a minute and feel the feelings, right? And then hopefully react in a positive way to this thing that is not real at all, right? But it feels real because these kids really commit to it every time, and they really put themselves into it. And so I just think it's a moment where it looks very real. It looks real enough that people are like, okay, I'm gonna let my brain kind of sit with what this could be like, what this would feel like, what it would mean, and they can't look away.
It was exactly what we had hoped for in terms of that moment of having the greatest impact on the kids. And it wasn't just about witnessing a car accident or a drunk driving accident. It was about witnessing their friends in a car accident and realizing that that could really happen. If somebody drank and drove, that could really happen. They could really lose a friend. As parents, it was emotional. So I can imagine what it must have been like for the kids too.
When you chose the kids,
I think I'm gonna get it to
oh,
you.
yeah, you
Just give me
should.
1 second.
I think it's the reality piece of it that you don't get with a speaker or, someone in front of you talking, even from their experience. They're talking about real things. It's not the same as seeing something, even though it's made up. It's a made up scene. I mean, the makeup that they put the kids through, it all looks so real.
There's sort of universal, there's always the moment every time when we're watching the video and I kind of hear the reaction of the students in the audience. Like, you can hear some kids get upset, you can hear some sniffling, and I always find myself with a lump in my throat, even though I've watched the whole filming and I know how pretend it is and how everybody's just play acting and the kids are laughing in between filming and when they're in there getting their makeup done. But then when it all coalesces, like the next day into this 45-minute assembly, I get a lump in my throat when we're watching the video and the kids are reacting.
The raw emotions from these kids, even the kids in the crowd, just watching the assembly, you could see the emotion on their face. But and then just you see real tears just starting to form up in their eyes, especially the kids that are involved in the process.
Like, that's like the dark part of it, where you're sort of coming up with that collective like let's just scare the hell out of everybody for 15 minutes, right? And then you guys have to be like, but let's be creative about it. Let's find a new way to make it happen. And look, you always do, and it's fantastic. And every time I watch, I get the lump in my throat, and I'm like, God, I don't know how they do it, but they sure do it. But again, I also think that in addition to your guys' artistic abilities and stuff, right? You have all these people that are thoroughly invested in it.
So we had supported the school community with Dave Chanjo. We had the Municipal Alliance that were absolutely crucial in organizing everything together to make this happen. The support was overwhelming. I believe maybe in the first year, second year, we went to a New Providence Council meeting and got honored for the work we did. So it was New Providence. This is something that it's a massive undertaking, and they take the reins and seize it in really making this come together.
We have such amazing support from not just the Municipal Alliance, who take care of everything. They run it from soup to nuts, from getting the helicopter to to getting lunch for the kids and their makeup. But it's like my good friend Mike Iacovelli, he takes a day off from work every year just to be here for it, just to go and get us batteries and get us lunch and make sure that there's nothing we need.
I'm here with Michael, and they've been driving in his car. We're waiting for them to bring it back
From Atlantic City.
from Atlantic City. They have a full tank of gas, so we don't know where they've gone at this point.
There were so many pieces to this. And don't forget about the judge and the courtroom scene and the parents writing their impact statements. And then the video, thank you very much.
The other thing I wanted to mention is I noticed in some older videos, you were playing you had a different role.
I was the public defender.
You were the public defender.
That's correct. Before I became judge, I was the public defender in Summit for approximately 25 years. New Providence, probably 20 years. In Roselle for, I don't know, 10 years maybe. Cranford, I think, was 25 years. So, you know, so that was the role not only I played, but that was the role that I had.
Yeah. And then eventually you became a judge, and then you became a judge where you played a judge in these videos.
There we go.
I'm big into, community policing, giving back to the community, getting, support from the community, and this is a great town to do it in. I couldn't have picked a better town to work in.
I think just by virtue of the fact that this is still going on, 12 years later now in this town, really shows you just how committed the people in this town are to helping their kids stay safe.
From start to finish, there's so many stages, I feel like, of the process to make it real, to really teach our students what's proper decision making, and certainly a lot of it's centered around and leading up to our prom. And our students, obviously it's a big milestone moment for them, prom, and obviously they're leaving our school and leaving our doors, and we at the end of the day want them to make good decisions.
The audience was like really quiet and really receptive and really paying attention, and there's not too many assemblies that do that with students. You always hear buzzing and kids in the back, or you'll see lights of phones and stuff like that, but not every 15 minutes.
It's one of the best high school memories I have.
Do you have memories of the dog? The dog sitting at your feet and Charlie, get out of there. Come on, buddy. Yeah. There's been such a build-up to have my daughter in it. My daughter, August is 15. She's a sophomore, and she's looking forward to being in this. And I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also terrified at how I'm gonna react when she's either the drunk driver or a DOA or whatever.